David Binder says, I'm interested in the panel's advice regarding what not to do when managing Q&A. Any career-limiting moves? Certainly, Sharon, you mentioned one, and that is to just ramble and make things up. What else? Any of you?
I think I'll just jump in. I think it's what I said earlier. You go in wanting to impress them with all the knowledge that you have, and you over-present. And again, they know that you have the knowledge, or you wouldn't be in your job, and you certainly wouldn't be invited to the meeting. So I would just watch for that pitfall, because it's easier for us to go into. You want to take over the silence by you speaking, and sometimes it's just better to be silent. They might be thinking, might be writing down a question. I find my executives text each other, to see, if they want to bring up another question. And so you just wait, and then you ask, would you like me to proceed? Or, and then they will guide you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah. A few other things I would add. One is to ensure that when you're responding to the question, you open that up to the entire audience. What I have seen some speakers do, especially if they're kind of intimidated by the person who's asking the question, in an effort to make sure they fulfill the questioner's needs, have a tendency to just speak exclusively to that individual. And you run the risk of not alienating, but causing, the rest of the audience to kind of go off in other directions in their minds. And similar to that, I think it's also really important in managing Q&As that you don't allow someone to dominate. That's where you have to have the courage to, I really appreciate the enthusiasm and interest, going back to what we're here to accomplish, and then get back on topic.
Just going to kind of add to what Carrie just said about not being dominated and, standing your ground where necessary. On the other hand, though, it's important in my experience, both as an interviewer in my past, journalism jobs, and now kind of working in a field within concussion and CTE, which can involve some, adversarial interviews, some adversarial back and forths with Q&As at times. I really try to avoid at all costs allowing anything to escalate into a combative, argumentative back and forth, and leaving that with what people remember about the entire session. I would hate for this very important. So the most common presentation I give is a concussion reporting workshop, where I speak to professional and student journalists sharing best practices for reporting on sports with brain injuries and concussions on the field or on the ice. And I would hate for that very important curriculum to be overshadowed by an argument between myself and a journalist in the room about UFC or boxing, and leave that as kind of the thing that people take home with them, rather than the actual best practices and the lessons that I came there to share. I think that makes me look less effective, because I wasn't able to control kind of the Q&A itself, but also I've let, the important takeaways be overshadowed in a way that kind of undermines my own authority on the subject matter.
That's such an excellent point, Dan. Do you happen to have an example or any advice on tactics you use to help avoid it from escalating?
Well, I think what you mentioned moments ago, thanking them for their enthusiasm, showing deference and respect for their, appreciation for whatever their opinion is, their issue and their stance on, if it's a controversial issue, if it's a certain, just a difference of opinion about the subject matter itself. I think I just tried to de-escalate as soon as possible, and then offer to have a one-on-one conversation after the Q&A itself, or after the, whatever forum it is wraps up, because I don't want to take precious time away from, if I've got 45 minutes, an hour with this group. I don't want to spend 8-9 minutes on the same question going back and forth when I can be, answering other questions or sharing additional lessons. So I think offering to follow up either in person immediately after, or on the phone or via email as a follow-up, I've found to be helpful, and shows that I am not only willing to take on a challenging question, but also willing to kind of meet them where they are and find some kind of middle ground, or at least a respect for each other's position on something.
Excellent. Amy, I think you.
Yeah, I was going to add. Yeah, I was just thinking about, for many people, they want to show up as their best selves. They want to show up as smart as they know they are in the meeting, and will often want to just respond right away with the answer. The challenge here is, if you don't 100% know what the question is, you might actually be answering something that isn't being asked. And so one of the strategies here that we practice with folks at PowerSpeaking is making sure that they paraphrase the question first. Did they understand it? Did they get the perspective that the questioner is actually asking before they respond? Because we've all been there where someone responded to a question, it wasn't the right answer to that question, and then the person had to correct them, and then they went back through it again, and we've now just wasted another 5 to 10 minutes. So this is a efficiency step, and it's also a step in the process of you looking a lot more confident in front of the room, just doing that quick check first.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is such an excellent point, to take the time to make sure you're getting to the question behind the question. And again, if you got it wrong, great opportunity to get clarity and make sure that you're providing the information that they're really seeking.